In this video, I'm going to go over the primes in a pyramid program. Forget which number that it is, but you'll know. Okay, so this is going to be, I think, the last time we're going to go through this because we need to move on. If we're still not understanding it, not the end of the world, but I am going to give it one more try. Okay, so let's start by looking at kind of a game plan. So to make this a little quicker, I've created some different versions. Okay. So again, here's the logic behind this program. So we're to print out, ask the user for the number of rows, however many rows they tell us. We're going to print one prime number, the first prime number on the first row, the second and the third on the second row, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth on the third row, and so forth. Okay. So we're going to have an outer loop for each row. That's going to be a for loop because we know how many there's going to be. The user told us. Okay. I think a lot of you are not tracking enough variables, maybe. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I'm tracking the row number, and then that's also how many primes we need for that row. But I'm going to have to track how many primes I've found as we go through. Okay, so the example there, if we're on row five, we have to find five primes. Okay, so then for each row, we're going to have to consecutively go through numbers starting with two. So two will be prime, three is prime. We'll have to skip four to go to five. We'll have to keep track of that number. Okay. So we don't know how many numbers we're going to have to go through to get the next row number of prime. So if we're on row five, okay, we know we've seen prime one, prime two, three, prime four, five, six, prime seven, eight, nine, 10. So we're looking for the 11th prime, if my arithmetic is correct. So we don't know how many numbers we're going to have to go through to get to that. Okay. We're going to have to keep searching numbers sequentially until we get the five that we're looking for. Okay. So for that reason, that has to be a while loop. Okay. And then finally, once we go through, get our number to check to see if it's a prime. If it is a prime, you need to print it out with a space. We're still on the same row. Okay. We need to increment that we've found how many primes in the row we found. Okay. Um, if not, we're going to move on to the next number. And that should say primes in the row. Okay. So that's the game plan. So for this to make sense, our programs are getting complicated enough that we're going to have to get out some pencil and paper sometimes and kind of plan things out and take it in steps. So the first step for me is that I'm going to look at my next version of this. I'm going to look at that inner loop. Okay. Okay. So this is what we have here. So in this case, I'm not worrying about the user input at this point. So I'm just forcing the number to be 13. Okay. And I'm setting this Boolean is prime just to make my life easier. Okay. And then I'm going to set the is prime equal to true. We've done a prime loop before. Should be the same idea. So we're starting for our int I equal 2 as long as I is less than the num. Okay. You don't really have to go all the way to that, but that's good enough for now. I plus plus. Okay. And then for the num, each time for each value of I starting with 2, we're going to see is it a divisor? So if I mod it, num mod I, do I get a 0? If so, then we don't have a prime. I want to break out of the for loop at that point. Okay. If this doesn't trigger and we go all the way through the loop, then is prime will stay true. And then down here we can print the numbers prime. Okay. So I've got this for 13 now. So if I compile it with 13, I should get that 13 is prime, and I do with bad spacing. But this is a throwaway, so I don't care. Okay. And now if I were to change this to 12, okay, fix that while we're at it. Okay, then go again. It shouldn't print anything, and it doesn't. Okay. Again, it's bad form not to have an else here on the print, but we're just testing. This is along the way, so we don't care. Okay. So with this part, now I'm able to, given a number, I'm able to go through and figure out if it's prime or not. Okay. And you can do some more examples if you want to make it clear that's the case. Okay. So the next thing I want to add is that while loop. Go to prime three. Okay. So all of this is still the same. Okay. Down, mostly down through here. Okay. But I've added this new variable here for the number of primes in the row. Okay. I've also added a variable for the candidates for being a prime number starting with 2. We still have our Boolean is prime, and we're now saying while the number of primes in the row, okay, I'm just randomly going to say less than 5. This 5 will eventually, in the next version, be fed by the for loop for the number of rows. Okay, so I want to get 5 primes from this application, the first 5. Okay. So every time through the loop, I have to set the is prime to true. I wasn't doing that a minute ago when I was programming this, and it led to some issues because once it became false, it never became true again. Okay, so it only found one. So anyway, so in this case, I'm resetting the is prime equal to true on every loop through. I'm now going to go through the loop, okay, to figure out based on number. Okay, so up to number. Number here is we're checking to see if it has primes. If it is not a prime, I'm going to break, come down to here, skip that, do a num plus plus, come back up here to the while, try it again. Okay. So in this case, I'll print out 2, I'll print out 3, but when it loops around for 4, 4 mod 2 does equal 0. This will kick to false. This will kick break. We'll skip this and go to 5. Then we'll print 5. Okay. And we'll keep going until we get 5 different ones. Okay. But if it is prime, we're going to go ahead and print it out. In this case, we're going to print it on a new line. Okay. And then we have to increase the number of primes that we found in the row. Okay. And to make this a row, I guess I could go ahead and put an actual guy there. Okay. And then to make it not look ugly, I can do my cout and L. Should go right there. Okay. So let's see if this one works. Okay. So let me make sure I compile the correct version of this. Okay. I got too many. My line is in the cout's in the wrong place, but you get the idea. So we start off, we have the first 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 2, 3, 5, 7, 11 are the first 5. Okay. So that's okay. So this would just be one row. Okay. See real quick if I can figure out where that. So I want, oh, it needs to be 2 problems. This doesn't need to have an indel. It needs to have just the space. And I think it needs to be here. Check that. Yep. Okay. So if we were just doing row 5 and nothing before, this is what that would look like. Okay. So we're now getting to the last version. All we have to add now is the for loop for the rows to start at 1 and go forward. And we're going to keep moving that number forward. So we're going to keep building on the number of primes. Okay. Take a look at that one. Okay, so I've got an int number of rows here, just in case I need to keep track of that. I've got the number of primes in the row initially equal to 0. So 5 is how many we're going to, I'm just, you would normally have the user enter that number, but I'm just going to do it. Just going to hard code it. Okay. We'll do 5 rows. So we're going to say int number of primes in rows equal to 0. Our number is 2 when we start. We're going to track that as we go forward. The is primes equal to true, just like before. So again, this is all the same as it was before from here on down. I just added this for int c. I can't use I because I'm using I down there. Int c equal 1, as long as c is less than or equal to the number of rows. We're going to do a c++. Okay. And then every time I hit this loop, I'm on a new row. So I have to reset the number of rows to 0. Okay. Then I'm gonna do the while like before, and then here I'm going to print out the space. I'm going to increment the number of primes in the row like we did before. I'm going to increment the number here. So whether it was a prime or wasn't a prime, I need to go to the next number. Okay, so this is going to the next number. Okay, so when I'm here, either two things. Either I jumped out because it was false, or I printed out because it was true. But in any case, I need a new number. And then here's our end L at the end. Okay, so with that, that's prime 4. So I run that. You see that I get the pyramid as I want. Okay, and we can go ahead while we're at it, just to finish this out. I could just do this here, and then I could say see out how many rows. You probably want something a little fancier, but let's do it this way. Okay. And hopefully we didn't break anything. Say we want 6 rows. And there we have 6 rows. Okay. So that's the basic idea behind this program. I know a lot of you are having problems with this one, and you've had questions, but I think that taking it bit by bit, solving the individual sub problems, I think is the way to proceed. Okay. After you watch this video, if you continue to have questions or any issues, um, we can certainly talk about it.